Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, Jonathan.
I want him driving and he's really sick. But he don't want you to see him drunk. But if you're gonna
All right, that's Johnson's. Okay. Which one? Yeah, that's one. Great. You see. Delivery. Okay. There he is. All right. Well, I've got time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being with us this evening. This is our last MELS Town Hall for the season. And I have some special guests with us tonight. And I'm going to start out with them first before we get to the content of our evening. So I'll start with Dr. Steve Laws, who's here with us. He is the program coordinator for our Doctor of Educational Administration or Ed Leadership EDLS program. So Dr. Laws, take it away. I have him muted.
There you go.
That's my default. I always mute him.
Yeah, and it was the best I ever sounded. But I want to point out that you started at 5:59.
Yep. The early bird catches the worm.
It was 5:59 and I was not prepared. So everybody, you got better things to do than listen to me. Let me just point out to you that if you, several of you are joining a doctoral program after you finish this journey, and we are excited about that. Several of you are not, and we are excited that you are finishing your MELS journey. And I congratulate you for that. If you are interested in a doctoral journey, whether it's EDLS, EDCI, DEOL, you need to get it in like tonight, tomorrow, this week, because the cutoff is here
Wednesday
to get your materials in. So if you have an interest, I'm gonna put it in the chat again. If you need me to help you with anything, you can email me, or I'm gonna give you my phone number too. Just as a reminder, I'm not here to do any hard sell or anything, just to remind, if you do have an interest, you got to do it this week. We got, I think we're going to have 2 cohorts in Charlotte, and then 2 more somewhere around the state, either Goldsboro, Thomasville, or main campus. Those are still kind of in limbo. Thomasville looks a little more sure than Goldsboro and Maine, but any of them can meet the number threshold of 10 if we get a couple more in them. So if you're interested, this is EDLS speaking, please get your materials in this week. If I can help you, this week means by Wednesday. If I can help you with anything, my contact will be on here, and I'll shut up, Dale. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Thank
Everybody,
you.
thank you, and congratulations, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Laws. All right, in the chat, I don't see Dr. Putnam or Dr. Hamilton. I know they have classes at night. I have put their information. Also, it's on our agenda, so I'll share my screen. If you look at the second page of our agenda, so I'll pull that up. You will see each of them's email address and the programs that they work with. And we also are still offering the opportunity for those of you who are in 603 add-on with Dr. Caitlin Maraglia to accelerate into a doctoral program in the fall in lieu of taking 605. Saves you several $1,000s. We're still looking for any of those. So if you are interested in a doctoral program, this is, again, this is kind of like the benediction. I can hear just as I am playing in the background. It's over Wednesday. If you're deciding, you've got to make a call by Wednesday or it's going to be done. But we're going to remind you one last time. Now, to the more important people, we also have with us tonight Mrs. Wendy Turbyfield. She is Gardner Webb's licensure specialist, and she's the person you will be working with to get your license, whether it's North or South Carolina. Just as a reminder, before I turn it over to Ms. Turbyfield, South Carolina has split their certification into 2, as I've told you previously, elementary and secondary. You'll need to get in touch with me so I can verify your clinical experience if you want both, or if you have clinical experience at both areas. I think Anna got in touch with me earlier today or yesterday. And so if you have done clinical at both, then we'll apply and see if we can get you both of those. North Carolina, you don't have to worry about it. It's all K-12 still in North Carolina. So I will stop my share and go to Ms. Turbyfield for information about licensure.
Hey, everybody. I echo what Dr. Law said. Congratulations on getting to this phase. This is a little bit early, but you will be getting an email from me with this information by the end of the week this week. I try to send it out before the end of the semester to let you know the steps for requesting your license. So just know that the first part of the email says, my apologies for this very long email, but please read it in its entirety because it is necessary. And I can't tell you how many times every semester I get people asking me how to order their transcript. And I promise you, every single piece of the steps that you need to know is in that email. So please read it carefully. I have links in there for you to access things that you need to access. For North Carolina folks, I literally have a step-by-step guide. So in this box, select this. In this box, select this, so that you can't mess it up if you just read the directions. For South Carolina folks, it will be helpful for you probably if you go ahead and go to the SCDOE website. The recommendation form is there that you can download. Sometimes they change processes, so I can't promise that I can tell you everything up front, but I do know that form is something I always have to complete for you. So if you will go ahead and go to their website, click on licensure, it'll take you exactly to the steps to add on to your license. And the form, it used to be that South Carolina took longer than North Carolina because of that form. And I have to send that form directly back to the state. And then from there, I'm out of the loop and have no idea how long it takes. However, North Carolina has had some difficulties as of late. We've experienced some extreme delays with DPI. They even have a disclaimer on their website right now that it is taking much longer than usual to process applications. So the sooner you can get it in, the better. A couple things you need to do to start helping yourself right now: make sure there are no holds on your account. You will not get a transcript, and I cannot approve a recommendation for licensure if you have any kind of financial hold or academic hold on your account. I mean, even things like loan exit forms and things like that will cause a hold to show up on your account. So just do yourself a favor. That is something you can do now, is go ahead and check and make sure there are no holds on your account. You cannot order your transcript. Your transcript for DPI must be a degree conferred official transcript. So I'll have the link in that email how you can order that, but that won't be available until the week after the semester ends. So probably Monday, after the final day of classes, the transcripts will be available for you to order. But it has to be official. Please don't go on Web Connect and pull up your unofficial transcript and upload that in your licensure application. That will delay your entire process, and it'll just sit there. And then one of the other important pieces, this is in the instructions for North Carolina, but please make sure that you select the option to route the application to the IHE. And then there's a drop-down menu and you select Gardner Webb. If you do not select that, then it just sits out there in the online licensure system spinning around, and it never gets routed to me for approval. So please make sure that, again, that's in the directions for North Carolina, but make sure you follow those steps step by step. South Carolina, if you have any questions, you will also have to have an official transcript, and you will also need to have that form completed. So, and as Dr. Lamb, I think, had in the agenda I was looking at, he will verify for me whether, because I have to select on that form, whether it's elementary or secondary certification. So just know we talk all the time. So we will verify that together, and then I'll complete the rest of the form and send that in. But again, official transcripts is a must, and you need to wait until you can order those. You definitely want it to have a degree conferred stamp on it, and that happens after the registrar confirms everything for the semester. I saw something in the chat pop up, Dr. Lamb, but I didn't read it while I was talking.
I did. It's about when to apply. So I'm gonna let me pick up on that piece.
Yes.
There's a difference between graduation and commencement.
Right.
All right. So this is an English lesson. Oh,
That's a very good question, though.
This is a good one. I see Sarah smile already. That always makes me feel better. Commencement is what we do when we have the get-together celebration. Graduation is when you complete your program. All of you folks who are in 605 will be graduating as of July 27th. You will then be eligible for a license. That has nothing to do with the celebration we're going to have when we burn the place down in December and have a big party. 200 people show up, plus all their families. Our goal is to have a group so big that we can't even hold it in the Tucker Center. That's our notion. Between the summer and the fall people, we're going to have a bunch. And so, but Nairi, that's still a great question. So those of you in 605 graduate next Wednesday. Y'all graduate. That means your program is complete. You're now eligible for a license, but it doesn't come automatically. You got to go through all the steps and pay the fees. But the big one, as Ms. Turbyfield said, is got to make sure you got no holds. We don't have any notion. Those of you who had me in 603, if you don't know the answer to this question, I'm going to fire myself. You know, FERPA rules don't let us know your business. We can't know what holds you have, whether they're financial or academic or whatever. We can't know that, so we can't fix it. So if you think you might have a financial hold, you need to get in touch with student accounts, and her name is R. Tony, Toney, R. Tony. That's Becky Tony. She could tell you if you think you've got a hold. They will have told you if you've got one, but if you're unsure. But we don't know who's got holes, and we can't fix them because of FERPA privacy laws. And so got to get your holes cleared. Next Wednesday, we can start, again, you need to go to the DPI website in North Carolina, that's Department of Public Instruction. In South Carolina, you go to the Department of Education website. It's the same, they just call them differently. Again, South Carolina will verify whether you get one, elementary or secondary, or whether you can apply for both. We'll have to verify that piece. South Carolina, you will have had to take the praxis exam. You'll have to submit your scores as well. Now,
And please send those to me as well whenever you send your recommendation form. I'll need a copy of your praxis scores.
Yeah. And as Ms. Turbyfield said, North Carolina is running about 6 months behind on actually sending you your license. Now, that doesn't mean that you aren't licensed. As soon as you get through, you are licensed retroactively back to the 27th of July. So if there's an issue, you've got a job, you need something that says that my license is coming, that would be me. I will write that letter. Mr. Turbyfield's too busy to be involved in that. I just mostly loaf around, eat a lot, and tell jokes, generally be obnoxious, but I will write that letter for you. I have a template. I will fire a letter off to whoever you need me to send it to that says you're done, you're going to get a license. And that way, but again, we're about 6 months out on North Carolina getting this done.
It has gotten a little better last semester, but I do know specific things that will hold it up is if you don't request for it to be routed to Gardner Webb, and if you don't have the required documents in the application, and then making sure that all the boxes are checked exactly as they are, and not circumventing the process that I send you in the email. I've had folks before go through their district office and do a Form D or something like that. And that is not exactly the same process. So it does kind of get just routed differently and sits on people's desks. You actually go into the North Carolina online licensure system and create an account for the North Carolina folks. This is all done electronically. You don't have any paper copies of anything to fill out. If you don't have an account with them already, you will create an account in the online licensure system. There are 2 different applications you can choose from to fill out. You will choose the one to add license by area. Do not choose the one to upgrade a license, because that's not what you're doing. You're adding a whole new license area to your teaching license.
Yeah. Josh just in the chat said there is a place on Web Connect under academic information that tells you if you have any holes. It will tell you if you have an AR hole, that's accounts receivable, or an academic hole, which means you're missing a transcript or a letter of reference or something from way back. But it will tell you, and so just make sure you go to academic information on Web Connect, the same menu where you find your email and Blackboard. Just go and check and make sure you've got your holes cleared. Now, one of the things that Ms. Turbyfield said, and I know this is trivial, Gardner Webb is an IHE. Make sure you understand that means Gardner Webb. That's Institution of Higher Education. That would be us. So anytime you hear of something referred to as IHE, just substitute Gardner Webb. But that's what the states call them. They don't call us a college or a university or a preparatory or whatever. It's now referred to as an IHE, and they'll ask you. And if you don't put us in, it'll just sit and spin. It'll never come back. But now don't be mad if you don't have this in 2 weeks like it used to. It's 6 months out right now. So I'm writing a lot of letters every semester for our graduates that says they've got it, just got to be patient. It hadn't been a problem so far.
One other note about transcripts, and this will be in the email as well. You can either order your transcripts through the National Clearinghouse, and I'll have a link in the email to do that. That's the most convenient way. It's electronic. You go in, put your information in, and you get the PDF copy of the transcript immediately in your email. If you go to upload that to the application, please try to open it after you upload it. Try to open it from the application, because a lot of times, for whatever reason, it doesn't work right. And then I get the application and then I have to contact you and request you to send it to me again so that I can upload it because something went wrong. So just make sure once you upload it to the application, you try to open it from there and make sure it opens correctly. Or you can order a paper copy to have the actual hard copy of it from the registrar's office. And if you do that, then you'll need to wait for it to be mailed to you, receive it, then scan a copy of it and upload it into your application.
Okay, Ms. Servifield, thank you so much for being with us this
You're
evening.
very welcome.
Again, you'll get the updated letter, hopefully in the next few days, and to make sure that we're on track. You don't need it until next week. But again, those of you who are in 605, you officially graduate next Wednesday. Now, again, that doesn't mean we're having a commencement ceremony. As you know, commencement ceremonies have been stopped in the summertime. We will do one in the fall. We'll do one in December for the fall, where you will be invited back along with all the folks who finish in the fall. Let me give you kind of a brief review of that. Now, unless it changes from last year, what we did last year is we did it all in one day in December. Now, in May, we do it over 2 days, but in December, we did it all in one day. So what we did was we met in Boss Gym, which is right next to the big arena, and we lined up and we marched into the arena and we did the morning activity for the college. And then when we got through with that at about 10:45, we went over and Miss Derbyfield ran our put on our program over at Tucker Center, where we had the big hall over there, and we actually do a ceremony for the College of Ed where all of you will get hooded. All of you who are getting master's degree, you will go through a ceremony where you come up on the stage, we call your name, you get your hood, Dr. Bull and I will put it on your hood on you, and you become. Now, the few of you who opted not to or didn't get into the second masters who are doing add-on, you're still invited. We're going to call your name and bring you across the stage as well. You will not participate in that morning activity because you won't be in a gown. You won't participate in that one, but you are going to participate in the one for the College of Education that afternoon. I'll get this information out to you, but I want all of you to be planning to show up in December. I think that date, let me look and see. I'm guessing it'll be December the 10th. That's that Saturday. It's usually that second Saturday in December that we do this, and so we're looking forward to all of you coming to have a celebration. I think they have some gift bags and some swag of different types, but we would, I hate that we don't have anything for you in the summer, but that's not part of the process anymore, but we will accommodate you in December. We would love to have you back. We want to see you all. And I have a standing bet that's at least one of you is going to say, you're a lot taller in person than we thought you were on the screen. And I have to remind you all, I'm sitting down when I do Zooms. So you'll get to see just how big and tall I am. That's always quite a shock for some of you, but we'll have a big time, and we'll have cookies and punch. But we'll have a good time and get to sit down and share. You get to see some of your colleagues, your team members that you probably haven't seen before. You'll get to see some of the doctoral folks and other folks at Gardner Webb, and you'll get to see the place. It's worth your trip. We'd love to have you. So I'm going to go ahead and put that plug in now because I may not see you again. Until then, I'll just be with you on email. All right, questions you have about doctoral programs, who to get in touch if you're interested and you hadn't already committed. For those of you who have, welcome back. We're so glad that you're continuing with us in the fall. Licensure, I think we've covered everything on that, so I believe we're good. So I thank our guests this evening for joining us. I want to go over our agenda now, and then we'll get to interviewing. So I'll share my screen and we'll get started. So just as a reminder, I sent you this agenda earlier today. As a reminder, if you're doing the master's degree, the fee for graduation is $150. If the few of you who are still doing add-on, the fee stays at $75. You should have already applied to graduate. You should have already applied to switch catalogs. Okay, Latasha raised her hand. Latasha, you got a question?
Yes, sir. I did the switch and I received the email or whatever, whatnot, but it's still saying that I have to pay $75 instead of the $150.
No, you'll have to pay the $150. They'll add it to your, they'll upgrade that. They may not have done it yet, but they won't let you out for 75.
Okay, okay,
And so that's what I'm telling you. They'll just add it to your student account.
okay, okay.
They
Thank you.
won't send you a bill. They'll just add it to your account. But yes, they will
Okay.
charge you $150 plus. I think there might be some other charges as well for regalia according to what you get. I don't know what you get for the $150. I think you get a cap and something else, but I don't know what else you get. So, but that will be the cost. For the few of you who are still doing add-on, it'll be
Thank you.
75, and there's not any additional fees for y'all, as far as I know. All right, just as a reminder, I'll quickly run through Blackboard for all of you. Make sure, please don't be one of those folks who comes up and make sure they get their task stream portfolio completed, but neglect their classwork and have to get it incomplete. We had the faculty meeting just before this. I don't know if you get an incomplete in 605, they may make you sign up for $699 in the fall. That's a $2,000 decision. If you get an incomplete in 605 or 698 or 605 and 696 for you master's candidates, if you get an incomplete and they make us put you in 699 continuation for the fall, they will charge you a little over $2,000 for that. So make sure that you get everything done, that you get your classwork done as well. I've asked them not to fail anybody. Get in touch with me about what we can do for an incomplete. But the biggest thing is if you're in 605, make sure you follow through and have everything done. I have it on the screen. This is Dr. Stedman and Dr. Revis's group. Then Dr. Sanders, Dr. Stone's group with Dr. Bullis and Dr. Talent. Here are the things that you owe us. 6 evidences were due this morning by 9. I think everybody's about to. Now, if you don't have your evidences in, keep working. I will work with you on this. But you know, make sure you get those in. And then next Monday, a week from today, everything's got to be done. Everything's got to be done by the 25th, because they're actually going to graduate you on the 27th. So make sure that you are done. Everything is in there. Make sure that you read the directions in your class about how to upload your competency folio into your DRF portfolio for evaluation. Make sure you know how to do that. Get all your work in there if you're in 605. For those of you in mine and Dr. Tobias's classes, here are the things that you need to do to make sure that you finish up this summer. And then for those of you in the add-ons with Dr. Caton and Dr. Maraglia, here's what you've got to do to finish up all of your activities for the summer. And then those of you in 602 with Dr. Neal. Again, remember, we've stopped summer commencement. We still graduate, but we don't have commencement in the summer. Dr. Stone has coordinated, as he said, for each of your classes, either Dr. Stone, Dr. Stedman or Dr. Sanders, you're having a video retrospective at your last class. I will try my best. I have classes that night, but I will join you for a short period of time to say one final goodbye, hopefully. And so that's what we have to have. Here are the rest of the things and the information that we covered earlier, our doctoral folks. And then here's our folks if you have questions about licensure. Again, if you need a letter in lieu of, while you're waiting for your license to come in, that says that you're done, you simply email me and I'll shoot you one of those letters. Not a big deal. All right. So that should be all of our agenda And so now we're going to move to I'll stop and see if we've got any questions on those. I'll check the chat right quick. Will we get an email about ordering caps and gowns? Yes, you will. They'll send you one this fall. It'll come out of the registrar's office. And so, yes, and I will follow up to make sure that I always do that you get that. You get that. Where do we apply for the Foothills collaboration? That would be for Dr. Laws. I think it's just automatic. That's a good question. And I think it's automatic. I think they factor that in, but so that'll be good. How long will your Garden Web email last after next week? It should last till after commencement in December. Should last till then. If it doesn't, I will let you know if they tell me, and they normally would. So it should be good until the end of the calendar year. That's a great question, Mark. And again, get in touch with Dr. Laws. I think that's automatic. I don't think you have to apply. I think they give it to you automatic. That's a great question. All right, so let's talk about the next phase of your career. Let's talk about getting a job. And so what I'm going to start out with tonight, I've sent you all these materials. They're in your shells. And so I'm just simply going to go through each of these and we'll work through these. So here's the first document that you should start with about interviewing. You need to understand there are 4 separate and distinct types of interviews for assistant principal positions. You'll mostly have all 4 of these. Now they may vary, but you will have some sort of all 4 of these interviews before you can get hired. I've also got one in here for principal interviews as well. There's a few APs in our group that will be applying, and so I'll cover that last. But I want to start with the 4 types of AP interviews. The first interview is the applicant pool type of interview, and this is basically a cattle call when they advertise a job and 70 people apply for it. Well, obviously, all 70 people aren't qualified, number one. And number two, you can't put 70 people through the process. So you've got to have some kind of a process to begin with that kind of narrows people down to the serious candidates, the people who have the transcript, who have the license, who have the degree, who have all of those things, and then, the serious candidates. And so there's a number of different ways that they kind of weed out and get the serious candidates. There's four different ways. The first is the Strength Finder, the Gallup dispositional behaviors. I'm a certified Gallup trainer. I can't share that with you because of copyright and privacy laws, but I'll tell you about it in just a minute, what it'll look like. It'll be much like the book that you cover in 605 on Strength Finder, where you're trying to assess your dispositional behaviors. And then another might be the in-basket activity, where they have you do a reasoning activity like with emails. I'll show you that one in a minute. It might be something virtual where they have a series of questions for you, or it may be a data analysis, or it may be some combination of those. So let's look at those quickly. Now, I can't show you anything from Strength Finder, but basically Strength Finder tries to determine your emotional intelligence or your dispositional behaviors, and they'll ask you some questions like, are you always on time? And the answer is yes. The trick here is to be certain, to be positive. They're going to ask you some questions. If you say I'm not an on-time person, they're not going to hire you. You'll get ejected from the process. Everybody knows that school runs on a bell schedule, and we can't have people that show up whenever. So make sure you understand. If they ask you if it paid the same, would you rather be a teacher or administrator? The answer is administrator, because you're applying, we're changing your lens. You're applying for a new career. As you have found out through this program, that you can't be a teacher anymore. You have to be a teacher or an administrator. And people who desire to be a teacher, they'll let you stay a teacher. So they'll ask you some questions like that, but it'll be based on Strength Finder, those dispositional strengths that you assessed in yourself. It'll be based on those. They'll ask you that. That's the first type. That's the oldest and the most standard of those. The second is in-basket reasoning activities. Let me pull this one up right quick. This is an oldie but goodie, and you'll see variations of this. You saw this in 605. They'll give you a number of emails, and you've got to figure out what to do with them. And they'll have you say, this is what I would do, and this is why I would do it for these emails. They may even have you put them in quadrants, urgent and important, not urgent, but important, urgent but not important, and then not urgent, not important. The landmine in this one is quadrant 3. There's no such thing as an email that's urgent, but it's not important. So you wouldn't put any in that, but they want to know what you would do. They're based on, like, don't talk to the media. They're based on the law, simple things that you will have covered, but it's reasoning. The only real trick in this one is don't put anything under urgent, not important. If you think about it for a minute, it can't be urgent, but not important as well. Urgent means it's going to be important. See, it has to be urgent. If it's urgent, it has to be important. If it's not urgent, it could still be important, or it could be not important, but it can't be this. It can't be number 3. And so, just an example of these, all expense paid vacation, graduation, that's just spam. That's not urgent, and it's not urgent, not important. Here's one where they're asking you to do a media, and let media come on your campus and talk to kids, video them, and we know from FERPA that we can't do things. Dear Dr. Brown, the newspaper would like to do a feature on you as a new principal, and I need to set up a time for interviewing you and some of the teachers and interviewing students. We know we can't do that. We can't allow media access. Everything has to go through public information. We know those kinds of things. It's just simple. These are simple reasoning activities. These are less and less common nowadays as Strength Finder. What we're seeing more and more is at this level is the virtual interview, where they ask you a series of questions. And so let's find the virtual interview. That's not it. Let's see if it's here. No, not there. Let me see. It must have dropped off the radar here. Let me get it back right quick. There we go. I see that. So what they do in a virtual interview is they have you come on Zoom and they ask you a number of things. And sometimes there might not even be a live person, or they're blacked out. The whole notion here is they're going to ask you things, and you have to appear that you are not reading them like I do, turn over here to my notepad, or read notes in front of you. So the trick on this one is they'll kind of give you an idea of what they're going to be asking you. Write your answers on sticky notes and put them around the edge of your laptop or your screen so that you can refer to your notes without looking down or looking to the side. If you do that, you'll fail that. But they'll ask you experiences that qualify you for this. They'll give you a couple scenarios. Mostly what they'll do They'll ask you the legal landmine question, which is always you get asked. The legal landmine question is, if there was a policy or law from the district that you didn't agree with, would you still follow through and make sure that you follow that policy? And of course, the answer from 603 is yes. It's not we follow the law always. We follow policy always. That's pretty much what we're hired for. And so they'll ask you that. They'll give you a little data question to do, and they may even ask you what your strengths and weaknesses are. Now, pretty much at every level, when you get in touch with somebody during the interview process, they're going to ask you about your strengths and weaknesses, and it's a landmine question. And so here's the way that you always answer this question this way. Your strengths are always dispositional. I'm honest, I'm forthright, I'm hardworking, I'm dependable, I'm on time. All of those dispositional soft skills that you know to highlight from Strength Finder. Here are the 5 that I think are, I saw this recently, and I think are probably the most important. Let me get back to this. These are emotional intelligence, work ethic, positive attitude, communication skills, time management, self-confidence. You know, the things that are related to these kinds of things. I'm a hard worker, I'm honest, I'm dependable, I'm positive, I'm a transformational leader, I inspire and motivate, all of those kinds of things. Those are your strengths. I'm a fully formed adult. This is as good as it gets. Your weaknesses are always based on inexperience, because those can be fixed. We can't fix you if you're not an honest or ethical person. We can't fix you. So again, the landmine question of what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Your strengths are always dispositional, and your weaknesses are always experience-based, which can be fixed. I know that, I've seen Power School from the teacher portal. My assistant principal showed it to me during my internship. But I haven't worked in all those different models in Power School, but I'm gonna be ready. It won't take me but a week, and I'll be, if there's training, I'm there, and I'm a fast learner. I can fix that. I'm not certified to do observations yet, but I'm going to get trained right away, and I'm a fast learner. I'll pick it up immediately. Those are the kinds of things. You can't say I have no weaknesses, because then they'll know you're an idiot, won't hire you anyway. So your weaknesses, again, always have to be experience-based, something that you can fix quickly. And your strengths are always dispositional. This is it. I'm there. I know what to do and when to do it. I have all the. I'm a fully formed adult. You don't have to worry about me doing something stupid like when Andy went to Raleigh. In the first season of Andy Griffith's show, when Andy went to Raleigh and he left Barney in charge, he hired, he gave Gomer a gun and deputized Otis the town drunk. You won't do something like that. You will make good quality decisions because you are a fully formed professional. That's your strength. You don't have a lot of administrative experience that you can call to bear there. So you got to play to your strengths, which is I'm a good person. And I know what I'm doing. And so that's what you're going to do. So now, also during that virtual interview, or it may just be a separate data interview, you're going to have a data analysis piece. Let me close that one. You're going to have a data analysis piece, and this is what it looks like. And it's exactly, listen to me, it's exactly what we do for the app sale. Exactly. They're going to give you a set of data, and you're going to go through it. You're going to figure out what the most pressing need is. You're going to do a quick and dirty action plan to address it. It couldn't be easier, folks. They're going to give you, say, here's your data, action plan, and they may ask you to do an action plan for your staff. More than likely, what they're going to do is have you do an action plan. They're either going to have you do an app sell or an app tell. And in this case, they had them do both. They gave them 20 minutes and said, do us an app sell and an app tell. Either they will do this as a standalone first activity for You know, for the first interview, you know, the cattle call interview, or they'll do it as part of a virtual. But very few districts now aren't having you do some kind of a data dive and do a plan out of it, either the AppTel, or both. You are prepared. You know how to do this. So you would not be shocked, or you would not be afraid. And it shouldn't take you forever. You know how to do an action. And you know how to do a data disaggregation. You know how to figure out what your most pressing need is. It's pretty simple. All right, so all the documents that I am sharing are in your class shell under interviewing materials. All right, so make sure you understand that all these things are there. So again, to go back to where we were, and let's do a quick review. Under the 4 types of AP interviews, the applicant pool interviews may include the Strength Finder, the Gallup stuff, which Gallup is the progenitor of the Strength Finder. About your dispositional behaviors, you may have a reasoning activity, an in-basket, virtual, which may or may not include, but you will either way, either your virtual and then your data analysis, and they may be coupled together. And if you do a data analysis project, it will be an AppTel, or both. So that's the first level interview. You are all prepared to get through that with flying colors. This will not be a problem. The only way is if you say something dumb like, I'm really not a morning person, or I'm not on time, or I don't follow the law, or I like to talk to the media without permission. If you do something dumb like that, you don't deserve a job. But you know what to say and what not to say. You know, you've been trained. You know the law and policy come first. You have to always follow those. You're not gonna go off on your own and do something crazy that's gonna cause a lawsuit for the district. You know, you're not gonna give Gomer a gun. You're not gonna do something crazy like that. And that's what we're looking for. In that first level, we're looking for quality people with good dispositional behaviors. And we want to know if they know something about data, and that they can reason, and that they're fully formed adults and good people. That's what we're looking for in that first. All right, second level interview is group. And this is where they want to find out if you can talk to civilians, people who aren't in the business of school administration. That would include teachers, community members, and parents that don't know all the jargon, the acronyms that you know. So that's number one. The whole notion of the group interview is they'll ask you questions that you could answer with really simple terms, but they don't know what those terms are. And please don't be the person who says, who uses an acronym like, well, I do that in a PLC. Oh, you don't know what PLC means. Well, that's, you've insulted them twice now. You've used a term they didn't know, and then you call them stupid to boot. Don't do that. The whole notion of the group interview is, can you talk and communicate with civilians? And so let's look at that one right quick. And so here is that one. For the group interview, they're going to ask you things like, what do you perceive as your leadership style? Don't be telling them that you're a transformational leader, or that you subscribe to situational leadership or any of those. You have to tell them what your style is in words that they understand, because they don't know what transformational leadership is. And so this is what you would tell them. You earn respect and trust of parents and teachers by making consistent, appropriate decisions. You're child-centered. You like to focus on the issues, avoid personal conflict, strive to be impartial to judgments. You're empathetic yet fair, courteous and respectful, willing to listen, respond to issues in a timely manner, positive and approachable, and open to change and new ideas. That's what a transformational leader, that would be the definition. But if you just say transformational leader, they won't know. They also won't know what a PLC is. They won't know what EVOS is. They won't know anything. And so, don't talk to them like they're complete idiots, but about like they're 8 or 10 years old, probably be about right. Assessment drives instruction. How would you help a new teacher understand the use of data? Well, instead of saying we'd put them in a PLC, we'd say we'll do data analysis, development of teacher strategies based on needs of students, and willingness to plan collaboratively. Is that what a PLC does? But you can't just say we put them in a PLC. They won't know what that is. Again, the notion here is these are the kinds of questions that you normally get. Describe the instructional practice you'd like to see and walk through the building. Well, I want to see Marzano's high yield strategies, except they won't know what that is. This is a group of teachers and lay people and parents. You have to tell them, we're looking for best practice, effective use of resources and engagement. We're looking for Marzano, but they won't know what that means. And so the whole notion here is in the group interview is that you're going to be with civilians, non-school administrators, and you have to be able to communicate with them without insulting them, without saying, oh, you don't know what that means, or you probably, that's even worse. So make sure that you understand that the whole purpose of the group interview is to find out if you can communicate with civilians, non-school administrators. So that's the second level of interview that you will have. All right, so at when you're going to get to the principal interview. So now this is your opportunity to shine and show out what you really know. When you get to the principal interview, let's go here. So when you go to the principal interview, you'll be interviewing generally one-on-one or one-on-two, maybe the principal and an existing AP or two, or a lot of times it's just you and the principal. And they're going to ask you these kinds of questions. Now, here's the trick. You can use all the jargon and acronyms you want, because again, you're talking to a school administrator. They know the deal. They can walk the walk and talk the talk. The only trick here is they're going to lull you into a false sense of security. They're going to hit you with that strengths and weaknesses question. Guaranteed. Again, don't let your guard down. Your strengths are always dispositional. I'm honest, I'm ethical, I'm hardworking, I'm on time, I'm dependable, I'm resourceful, I'm responsible. All those good dispositional behaviors that we're looking for. My weaknesses, again, is inexperience, but I know what I don't know. I know that I need to get certified to do observations so that I can do those. I need to learn more about Power School. I need to see the discipline module, how to enter data in, how to enter incidents in, generate reports, suspension forms, and those kinds of things. I've seen EVOS from the teacher portal, but I know I've got to see it from the school portal. You acknowledge those weaknesses are just experience based, and that you will solve them very quickly. So that's the trick with the principal interview. You can use all the jargon you want and all the acronyms, but don't get lulled into a false sense of security and then get blindsided on that strength and weaknesses question. Strengths are always disposition. They're a part of your character and part of who you are. That won't change. That's fully formed. You don't have to learn anymore. You don't have to learn about how to be an honest and hardworking. You're already there. And your weaknesses are always inexperience. And then you get to the fourth level with the area superintendent or the superintendent. You're going to talk about big picture things like, what are we going to do? How do we get from point A to point B with 21st century skills, with technology, digital divide, all of those kinds of questions. And I have a document here on how to implement 21st skills. You can't just say, we'll do 21st century and that'll prepare our kids. Well, how are we going to do it? So I've got a how-to guide here on how to implement those. But the whole notion of the superintendent interview is you're going to talk about big picture things. You're not going to be talking about how to do 3 lunch shifts and what to do in the dead period in between in the 3 lunch shift model. You're not going to be talking about things as mundane as that. It's going to be big picture ideas. It's going to be, what's your school going to look like? How are you trying to prepare your kids? What are you preparing your kids for? What do you want? What's important in your school? Performance. That's the kind of things that you're going to be talking about. We want our kids to be able to compete when they go to college or out in the world of work. That's the things that are at the next level. If it's like elementary, we want them to be competitive when they get to middle school. Be prepared. You're going to talk about big picture ideas. Don't get down in the weeds. Have some notion of future ready students in North Carolina. What does a future ready student look like? I don't think I've got that one pulled up right now. I noticed a while ago that it might not have been there, but I can pull it up right quick. You know, if you don't know what you're looking for in a student, you know, as a result of 21st century, you know, skills, we put those in. What are we looking for at the end? Gee. Well, North Carolina and you South Carolina people, you can use this too. Let's see. This is pretty much what kids should be able to do. Future ready students, as a result of having gone to a school that subscribes to our district that subscribes to 21st century skills. This is what kids will be able to do. And so, and what the school will look like. So I would spend some time with this before the superintendent interview so that you could talk about, you know, what leaders need to do and what kids need to look like. Because this is the kind of stuff there, you will not, anything you talk to the superintendent about will be on this list right here. Trust me. This is your primer for your primer or primer for the superintendent interview. I'm going to pause, and even though she is not, I haven't prepped her for this. Dr. Revis is with us tonight. Those of you who don't know, Dr. Kathy Revis, she's a sitting school board member in Henderson County. Dr. Revis, I want to call on you at this point, because I know you know this one is good or better than anybody that's with us tonight. The kinds of things that you're looking for in school administrators from the central office, the superintendent board perspective. What are you looking for?
Well, I'll first start talking about from the superintendent's perspective, because we actually hired a new superintendent this past spring, and he took office in July. So again, like Dr. Lim said, we go through a screening process. And for our school board, and I can't speak with all school boards, we wanted someone, at least from North Carolina, who had a really good track record. And if people have experience and have really good experiences already as a superintendent, that puts those people an edge up for coming to our district. But in our case, we had 3 applicants who were superintendents or had superintendent experience, but we only elected to interview 1 of those people. So, you know, you bring them in, you have to fly them in or whatever, and bring them into your community. And we ask a lot of the big picture questions. We wanted to know a lot about program planning. What are your goals for students in the 21st century, right down the line here? What do you see? You've probably looked at our data. We don't really give them data sets. We expect that when they walk into that interview, that they have looked at our student performance data inside and out. And so we ask them questions about, where do you see our biggest areas of growth being in our student performance data? What do you see? Where are areas of celebration? And what kinds of initiatives would you see would be appropriate to implement? And how would you go through that implementation process from a district perspective? So I want to know a lot about that. Our school board's also very, very interested in having superintendents who can make connections and build relationships with our county commissioners, because that's a huge funding stream for all school boards. And we want to know how they go about building those relationships, and what a typical week in their day of a superintendent, a typical week in a superintendent's we would be like. We want to see them out in the schools and being very visible, but also attending community events as well. So a lot of what Dr. Lamb has said is just right on as far as superintendents. And, you know, I've been sitting in the room hiring many principals too. And again, those soft skills, you can't teach people that stuff. They've got to have it. And we want to have someone who puts instruction and school safety first and foremost at the school building level and the superintendent level, because that's our job. Our job is teaching and learning. And I know, Dr. Lamb, the first time when people enter the program, you tell them very upfront, if you don't think that being a school administrator, a school leader is about test scores, you're in the wrong business. It's about teaching and learning.
Mhm.
And you know, same kind of scenario, you know, looking at the school's performance data and knowing the strengths and weaknesses and how a plan of action. And we don't give them that information up front. They have to know it. Again, what you had shared earlier about when you go on classroom visits or walkthroughs or instructional rounds, what do you want to see happening in those classrooms? Stuff like that. So you've hit everything.
Thank you, Dr. Revis. And so the notion here is that all the things that Dr. Revis, they're going to make sure that you've hit all those notes before they hire you, because they want to project you down the road as principal or central office or whatever. We don't just hire people to do bus duty and open cans in the cafeteria anymore. We got to project that you can do all of these things. And so at different points, different people are going to want to know, you know, do you know data? Are you about school? You know, are you a decent person dispositional? The superintendent's role in all this is, do you have a big picture in mind? Because that's what's most relevant to him or her, because that's how they were hired. You know, the community piece, the big picture idea, what are we preparing our kids for? So everybody that you interview with along the way is putting a check in the box of all of these things that we're looking. You won't have everything, and you know, every interview won't cover the same thing. You got to be prepared for what they're going to have for me this time. And that first one is about reasoning, figuring out who I am, am I a quality person? Can I disaggregate data? The second one, can I communicate? Can I build a rapport with community? You know, can I speak to people on the level that they are with the knowledge base that they have? The third level, they're going to find out if what I really know about school administration. Can I put it all together when I talk to principal? Superintendent's going to figure out if I've got my head up and can see the big picture and understand what it's all about, teaching and learning, you know, about making a good number go up and a bad number go down. You know, that performance counts in this business. Do you have that perspective that achievement matters, that we're in it for performance? All of these things, every one of these different kinds of interviews are designed to make sure that they holistically have determined if you're the right person for them or not. You will get each of these four types before you can get a job. Now, I'm going to go quickly to some general ideas about interviewing. So if you'll bear with me through this. One of the things I like, and we don't advocate this as strongly as we used to, because everybody understands the portfolio system now. Early on in the early years of the portfolio system of the 6 evidences that you do, folks didn't know what that was, and so we have you do a 2-page summary of your evidences, and right here they are. You know, and so this would be something that I would have, and I wouldn't, if they asked me, I would share that with them, but I would be able to speak to the work that I did in my evidences. They don't want to read those things, but they want to know what you did. So if you could have a synopsis of those. Remember, we have the competency folio with your artifacts in it that we can send a link so they can see evidence of the work that you did as an intern. That's a big selling point, hiring. So that's your portfolio. This notion of, you know, what do I take on a job interview? Let me close some of these things out here. You know, the 5 things you must bring on the next interview. You know, so a current resume, 2 pages maximum, 2 pages. And don't do a lot of frilly graphics and all that. You've only got 2 pages. Don't make it look like, you know, like you're dotting your I's with hearts or any of that business. Very, very direct to the point. You get 2 pages. You can have a cover letter, and the cover letter is either to the school or the district. You need a cover letter. You need to have your references. They need to be on the back page of that 2-pager. They should be included. Make sure all the addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, post office, all of it is current. I had to do some reference checks last week, and most of them weren't current. Some of them are 5 or 6 years old. Don't send stuff like that. A strategic plan, and that doesn't have to be written down, but as Dr. Revis said, you've looked at the data before you walked in. You have an idea. And then your portfolio. Your portfolio should include a link to your competency folio and that 2-page evidence summary. Share it with them if they ask you. If not, you can give them a brief synopsis of that. That's very important. All right, so you need those things when you go. Every interview you go, just make sure you've got these things with you. Don't get caught flat-footed where you don't have those things. We've already covered that one. All right, we've covered that one. Now, I've told you what to do, and here are the things not to do. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Here are the things you can do is don't ask how long you'll have to be an assistant principal. Don't ask her when I'll be promoted. You know, I've seen people say, you know, is the normal length of time, you know, 3 years. Don't talk about that job until you've been hired for this job. Don't talk about salary, steps, national board pay, or any of those things. If you want to know about those, you'll need to contact their human resources division for employee assistance. The people who are interviewing you won't have any clue about that. When can I expect a raise? Don't ask that. You know, or what flex time options? Don't do that. I've told the story 1,000 times, and I'll tell it briefly. I went by Hickory Grove to visit Aquanetta when she was still a principal there. And I saw a person had been hired as a new AP, and it wasn't even cold weather yet. And I went in and I asked her how she was doing. She said, I've already let her go. Said as soon as she got hired, she had to leave 45 minutes before school was out so she could pick up her children every day. I told her she could go on now. You know, don't be making those kinds of here's the thing, folks. If it's the building won't get any closer to your house just because you get the job. If you know it's too far for you to travel, don't go and interview. The traffic won't get any better just because you get the job. If you you've got, you know, if it's an early start high school and you got to get your kids, you know, you can't take them to daycare at 7 and the high school opens at 6:30, then that job's not for you. Conversely, if it's a late start, like Hickory Grove was, and don't get out until 4:30 and teachers can't leave until 5, then, you know, and you know you got to pick your kids up before 5, that wouldn't be for you. Don't start talking about asking them to modify their day, which can't be done. We run schools on a schedule, buses and all those things. So make sure you understand that that you shouldn't be talking about those kinds of things in an interview. And the last is in asking any questions that shows you weren't paying attention. All right. And if you're an AP already and you're interviewing for principal, I've got a list of these questions I've been asked in interviews. Again, this is more geared for principals. But AP candidates, you can read over these as well. It's pretty much, they do principal interviews, they kind of do the whole thing in one big ball with them. They're not as rigid. APs, you're going to go through all 4. Principal interviews, they kind of bring you in half day or a day and do it all in one day. So there's nothing in here that you didn't do as an AP. It's just all kind of put together. Understand that when you go and interview as a principal, most of the time they tell you that you're going to be there all day. And they're gonna hit everything that we did in all these 4 different levels of interview, except they're gonna do them in one day as a principal candidate general. So here those are. They'll give you some scenarios, some real life things. But remember, for principal interviews, they pack all 4 into one day. It can be a little bit overwhelming if you're not prepared. So that's for the principal, the next level of that one. And then I have one document here, and I think we'll just do this one. All right, so here's our last document of the evening. Here's my top 10 for job interviews. Dress for success. If you wear a wig, that's okay. Wear a good wig. You know, I had a fellow that came in his work wig one time, interviewed for an AP position. It was kind of cocked to the side, kind of like kids wear their hat kind of off to the side. I couldn't hire him because I that's all I could think about. You know, if you're going, you know, if you wear a wig or whatever you got, it's the best one. Your best clothes. Come in. It doesn't matter if you're overly dressed or whatever. Make sure that you look respectable and presentable, because people need to be able to project you into that role. Take your 2H evidence summary and have your link to your competency folio. Research the school and administration, look up the state, again, do your data dive, look at the TWC and the state report card. They're online. Know the background of the administrative team. Know all about that school when you walk in about their data, because they're probably going to have you do a data dive. Know all those things. Know what you don't know. What that means is you've seen that EVOS, but you've only seen it from teachers. Same with power schools, you know, same with RTI, PBIS. You've only seen it from the teacher role. Know that it's deeper and more complicated than that, and be able to speak to that. You know, don't walk in. I had power school in my classroom. I know everything. No, you don't. Have a humorous anecdote about how you were able. They always ask me on your references, how'd they turn a negative into a positive? So have a humorous anecdote where you're not making fun of somebody else, but kind of make fun of yourself. It shows humility. That's a good thing. Be prepared to discuss hours and responsibilities honestly. Again, the building won't get any closer or the traffic any better just because you got the job. If you know it's too far, don't go. Know your strengths and weaknesses. Again, we know what our strengths are: dispositional, those soft skills, dispositional behaviors. Our weaknesses is inexperience. Don't discuss salary, experience steps, national board pay. Again, not in an interview situation. Don't engage in gossip or negative talk. It'll get back. And then my number 10 for me, and one that's my pet peeve: don't interview for a job that you know you won't take just to get the experience. The people interviewing, it's not their responsibility to get you experience. They're trying to find the best person. If you know it's too far from your house, or if you don't want to work in that kind of school, I've had people say, well, I came to interview, I just want to know what the questions are, so when I go to the school where I really want to work, I'll be prepared when they ask me the question. You know, and you do realize that principals talk to one another, and that's a no-no kind of thing. So if you know, if it's too far, you know, one of my doctoral candidates said, you know, she got a feeler from, where'd she tell me it was? I think she said Hyde County down in Mattamuskeet, and she lives just outside of Charlotte. And I said, you know, there is a little commuter plane that flies out of Charlotte every morning down to Jacksonville. And then you'd still have another hour or so riding the car. She said, what are you talking about? I said, how are you going to get down there? Surely you're not going to move your family down there. I mean, she said, yeah, but I'd like to talk to them. Don't bother them people. Don't waste their time. You know, you're not moving to Hyde County, Mattamuskeet. I've never even seen you not in dress clothes. You do realize down there that most of the roads aren't even paved. This is not you. You're not going to go down there and work. She's kind of a slim woman anyway. The mosquitoes would carry her off. And I told her, I said, that's not your deal. You're not going down there. She said, no, I'm not really interested in the job, but I'd like to know what they're going to ask. Don't bother them people. Don't waste their time. You know, that shows a lack of maturity on your part to do something like that. That's not a good look. Don't, if unless you know that I'll take that job, don't go interview. Again, you'll get experience, you'll be okay. But if you know, I'm not gonna go there and work, I don't like that kind of school, or it's too far, or I can't make it work, then don't go. If you show up for an interview, you're telling the people that you interviewed with that I'm willing to take this job. Yeah, I'm willing to do it. If you're not, then don't bother them, waste their time. All right, and the last thing that I have this evening is you're all gonna get jobs. Yay. I'm excited for you. So here's my advice for what you need to do between the time you get hired and the first faculty meeting. That first faculty meeting is real important. It's crucial, critical to your career. So you got to be prepared for that first faculty meeting. Here's what you got to do between the time you get hired and then. Know everybody's name and what they do. Barring this, move around the room and have the staff introduce themselves. Proximity and eye contact are important. I have eidetic memory. Back in the old days, I used to be able to, get an annual and memorize everybody's name and what they did and do it from memory. At the first faculty meeting, I did over 200 at one high school. People used to come from far and wide to see it. It was like, a trick at the fair. You don't have to be that good. But if you can't do that, then you need to figure out a way. You need to try to connect with everybody as an individual as soon as possible. Get an early win, present something positive to staff. What that means is get something, don't tackle a problem that they've been having for the last 12 years at that building. That shouldn't be the first thing you tackle. Get an early win, like getting their books delivered to their room. Something that shows that you can get things done. Because what will happen if you don't is you'll get labeled as incompetent. And then even if you have success later on, it's just luck, blind hog finders an acre every once in a while. You want to try to do something. Don't tackle the biggest issue they've had for the last 10 years. That'll take 12 years for you to fix. No, get an early win. Show that you're a competent person. Give the staff a quick overview of who you are and your professional experience. Quick. If it takes more than about 30 seconds, you went too long. Let them learn who you are. Don't tell them everything you've done since kindergarten. Volunteer for something nobody else wants to do. Lend a hand. Be a servant leader. Present the opening school plan and be conversant that the principal will let you. It shows that you're already part of the team. Smile and laugh at the appropriate times, not at the inappropriate time. Ask questions and take notes so you can follow up. As you know, I have these little books, little red Gardner Webb notebooks. I also have a pad I carry in my pocket all the time. If you're old like me and can't remember, or if you just can't remember, write it down. Carry a notepad with you every day. Have a list of things you need to get done that day and take your pen out and add to it. Write it down. You may forget it, especially if you sleep. I tend to forget things after I sleep. Write it down. Recognize someone for something positive that you've seen. Be specific. Don't just say, I saw Miss Brown's room look pretty good. What in Miss Brown's room looked pretty good? It was inviting to children. Be specific. Find something, right? If you can't remember it, if you might forget it, take a picture of it with your phone or write it down. Don't complain or seem worried about the opening of school. Trust me, the kids will show up the first day whether you're ready or not. You can't show that you're panicked. You got to be like a duck on the surface. You might be paddling, hard underneath on the surface. You got to appear calm, because if you panic, everybody else will. That's not a good look in a school administrator. Just panic. Kids will show up. There's no such thing as being ready. They'll show up the first day whether you're ready or not. So you're ready. Let's go. And the last one. Again, my pet peeve is always last. Don't remind people or mention how busy you are or how hard you're working. That's the expectation for you. You got into school administration. You're going to be paid more. You don't have to teach any kids. The expectation is that you'll work hard and that you're busy. But that's never an excuse not to follow through and do the things that you said that you would do, or not serve the people that you were hired to serve. Again, that's the notion here. You got to get after it. You've got to get after it. But if you will keep these things in mind, again, in your class shells, you have the interviewing materials. If you'll keep these things in mind and know, this is the first interview. It could be any number of these things. It could be virtual. I'm probably going to do a data dive. I might do reasoning. They might try to suss out my soft skills, my dispositional behaviors from Strength Finder in 605. Know what they're going to do, but if you don't know which of those 4 they're going to do, just be prepared for all 4 of them. Second round is going to be group, knowing that they're going to see if you can connect with the public. Third round's principle. This is where you get to shine and show how much you know, how much content. Don't get too don't get too cocky. And when they ask you that strengths and weaknesses question, stick to the script. And number 4, the big picture with the superintendent. The superintendent is going to look for you, and Dr. Revis did a great job of drawing this out. The same things that the school board looks for when they hire that person is what that person is important to them. The big ticket items, the big picture things. They're not going to talk to you about minute little things about, the bus schedule or something like that. They want the big picture. Can you see, do you have your head up? Can you see beyond, your everyday existence? Can you see the big picture of what we're trying to do in public education? That's the time that you will spend with the superintendent. I wish you all luck. If you need reference letters, shoot me an email. I will do reference letters. If you need a letter about your licensure in lieu of if you got hired and they want to know that you're actually going to get it, because the state if you're just, they don't even have you in the portal. It takes months now. Send me that. I'll send you a letter. I'll get those out to you. Remembering that you graduate, those of you in 605 next week on the 27th. Commencement is in the second week of December. If you're planning to look at a doctoral program, you got to get an application in by Wednesday of this week on the cutoff. It is the 20th, which is Wednesday of this week. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. Thank you all for being with us this evening. Dr. Stedman, Dr. Revis, I saw Dr. Talent, Dr. Caton, Dr. Maraglia. I'm sure there were other of our faculty that were here that worked with you, but I appreciate all of you being with us tonight as well. I hope the 605s, I will try my best to jump in and see y'all and say one last goodbye next week. If I don't, we appreciate it. And again, we want to see you back in December. It'll be fun. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Everybody have a good evening.